Oh, yeah. Let's go. What's up, beautiful people? It's me. I'm Ronnie. This is the show. Don't really have a name for it yet. It's just a thing right now. Um, Keeps me busy, keeps me occupied, and I thought it would have decreased the number of comments I made on social media, but that didn't happen. I guess I got some overflow, and this is where it takes me. Um, what's the haps, Cap? Welcome to the show. I got a little speck on my camera. Hold on. There we go. Okay. There we go. All right, cool. What's up, beautiful people? Back at it again for the second day in a row. I might try to do this twice a week. The other video might be recorded. Try some new stuff. You know what I mean? I already got some things set up in the background here. Got these shelves today. So let me see. Let's back this out a little bit. I got my shelves going on. So thank you for the people who contributed to the show. I did something with it. You know, it's just not going into my pocket. So, you know, I hope to eventually get kind of a more professional, more common YouTube setup. I never really wanted to do a YouTube channel, but never thought about it. But I mean, it seems like fun. I get to sit here, talk, do a bunch of research on things I like. So appreciate you for that. Martell, not Martell. Kel asked me, so what you drinking tonight? Let me get over here. Tonight I have a bottle of, well, I'm not going to drink the bottle, but I got some Martell, the VSOP. All right. Got some Martell VSOP. And my chaser of choice with dark liquor is Sprite. I like the brighter flavors. It's like the Coke and cognac. Just it doesn't sit well with me. What's all hell nah? What's that about? All right. So this is the show. Contribute if you like. I don't really ask for donations or anything. It's always at the bottom with the ticker. So if you feel so inclined, by all means, trust me, it's going to a positive place. Just working on making this thing better and then making it, I guess, more palatable for more people. All right. All right. What's up, Jeff? What's up, Ant? All right. Let's keep this down here. So today, well, I'm going to start off with this. Excuse me. Where is it? I'm going to start off with this. What's Derek Jackson's subscriber count right now? I want to find out. All right, what's Derek Jackson's subscriber count right now? Last night, when I did my stream last night, he was sitting at 744,000 followers on YouTube. I haven't checked his social media. I guess that would be a bit important to know too. Like I wonder what his Instagram is doing. But I wanted to check his YouTube subscribers. That's where all his videos are, his content. And yesterday it was at 744,000 about 24 hours ago. today, insert drum roll, please. Um, insert drum roll, please. Derek Jackson's YouTube channel is sitting at 736,000 subscribers, man. And the crazy part is his wife won't stop talking. Actually, I don't think either one of them want to start talking, want to quit talking, honestly. Um, it just seems like he's on damage control and she's just trying to prove that she's not some kind of captive, or she's trying to save his brand. I don't know. Either way, whatever they're trying to do, it doesn't look like it's gonna work. He is still doing his thing. He did a reaction video to his apology video that he made. What kind of lunatic? And still tried to sell his book at the end. Like the pandemic must have really have him trapped in the house and trying to figure this out, or he must be that into his wife now, because he is definitely not catching the. Actually, you know what? I lied. He is catching the vibe. He is catching the vibe of what's going on. Because let's go to his. Let's go to one of his videos. It's becoming one of the most popular. His video about him cheating. I don't even want to show you the video, but as you can see, he turned off his likes and dislikes. Ain't that crazy? Like, his image right now is he even got Donkey of the Day from Charlemagne. Like, bro, what are you doing?
So I keep getting tagged.
No, we're not doing that right now. His and his wife's live chat. Comments turned off, likes and dislikes. Because if you had seen it before he took them off, you would know that the dislikes were like heavy, like there were a lot of dislikes. A lot of dislikes on his page. But that's what happens when you pander. You pander bear. Pander bear, pander. Let's see. What if this is all a ploy to get people to buy his book? If it is, it failed. You hyped yourself up so much. Not you, but like Derek Jackson hyped himself up so much that he basically made himself infallible. Like, you can't trash a bunch of dudes and then be like, trash a bunch of dudes for doing stuff that you're doing, not in the worst way, but you're doing it in a pretty bad way. And all your followers are women who, they hold your word to high regard because you tell them what they need to hear. And now you show them that you're basically a wolf in sheep's clothing. That is not a good sales PR move or whatever. And if it was a PR move, he needs to fire whoever he hired to come up with that idea, much like his apologies, because all these things are looking really, really sketchy. I think it's really his idea because he just seems so into it and so about selling this book. Mind you, they've been on sale for 50% off for like a year. He's so into it that I don't know. Narcissism, NPD. I'm not a counselor. I can't diagnose that kind of thing, but that's the way it's looking to me. He's giving me real R. Kelly vibes these days. Real R. Kelly vibes these days. Like whatever this real came up. Yeah. No, it's definitely a ploy to get him more money. What's up, folks? I see everybody in here. Hey, how you doing? All right. So, I mean, this is probably not the end. The way it's looking, these videos from them, I mean, he and his wife on her Christian crusade, they're not going to stop anytime soon. It looks like we're going to have to endure more of Action Jackson for, I probably think, about another week. Actually, you know what? Kevin Samuels was talking about it on Friday. He said, I'd be surprised if we hear it. Actually, you know what? He'll probably respond to Kevin Samuels. Again, he's giving me R. Kelly vibes. So he's going to protect his brand at all costs. All right. Where are we? All right. So we talked about Derek Jackson. If it comes up again, if there's any breaking news, we'll share. We'll go about that. But today I wanted to talk about the men in Disney And how I came up with this idea. Um, so I hear a lot of times from women that um, they have been socialized by society to think different ways. But I never really hear men talk about what society told us to do. Men don't talk about those things, and I don't sit amongst my friends and be like, man, the world just, because if the world wasn't the way it is, I wouldn't be where I was. And you could call it male privilege or whatever, but it's a lot of guys who are, not doing so hot right now that could really benefit from male privilege, but they're not. But they're also not blaming society. They might blame laws, the government, or whoever, but they're not saying they've been socialized to behave a certain way. So I was talking to somebody about the socialization of women and the idea of being romanticized because of uh, Disney movies and rom coms. All those things came up, and that made me really think. Well, I saw those movies too. So if you've been socialized to believe a certain thing, what could I have possibly been socialized by? Um, I mean, because when you think about it, I mean, they're of course like they hail the Disney princesses, but on the flip side of that, you also have these men in Disney that I can connect to more than I can the princesses in the movie, right? So, but the thing is, of course, they made the princess the star, and she is, she gets a lot of the attention, but we never really focus on what the men in the background are doing, and some of them are in the background, some of them are the leads, of course. Like in one movie, we're doing The Lion King. So I just wanted to explore what the role of these guys was. What were the men in the Disney movies doing? And how are they portrayed? Because, I mean, in our society, men talk about these things like how our representation is that of an oaf for somebody who's dumb, like Homer Simpson, Peter Griffin. I mean, you could look on a lot of TV shows like King of Queens, like the guy's goofy and the woman is like the one who keeps him straight and has her head on, head on straight and narrow. And so our depiction is never really pleasant. So what I decided, so I looked at the Disney movies and I said, okay, well, let's see what they have to offer. Was I socialized to act some of the ways that these Disney princes were doing or the men in Disney were doing? And so here I am. Here I am to save the day. Now, originally I was going to do 3 movies, but my time didn't allow me to do that. I might end up doing this again as a series. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, there. Okay, we'll do this as a series and we'll see how it goes. But you know, um, it seems like a good thing to do. We don't really talk about how men are depicted very, very often. So I might start describing things in movies. But those are white men most of the time. Also, I mean, we live in a white world, and it's not just about. See, men understand men in the sense that we're men, not necessarily that he's a white man and I'm a black man. We understand each other's nature. We don't understand the intricacies of like their lifestyle or some of the things that they do in the background, but we know and men accept that men are generally the same. So black, white, or whoever, that's a man, that's my image. Like that's somebody who I can identify with, black, white, or whatever. So let us get started here. We're going to talk about first. Let's go to Aladdin. Aladdin, if you've never seen Aladdin, is the story of a vagrant, a street dweller, a man of color who is living. I mean, he's basically homeless. He's known as a we'll get into the story, but he ends up by chance finding a genie who makes him a prince, and that's the wrong page. He ends up finding the genie who makes him a prince. He swoons the princess of Agrabah, and they end up living happily ever after. Of course, with all some with some turmoil in the middle of all of that. All right. So, in the story of Aladdin, a couple of things I recognized just up front. I took some notes, so I'm gonna look at these real quick. Um, First of all, when did Disney put that warning in the middle of these, in the beginning of these movies? There was a warning that it basically said this movie was written at a different time period where shit like this wasn't offensive. So, you know, just think about it in those terms, and then we can move on. That's basically what it said. I think I saw an article about that a while ago. Um, but I didn't read it, didn't care to. As long as the movies didn't move, I didn't really care what the article said, honestly. Okay, so in the beginning of the movie, Aladdin is of course the first thing we see from Aladdin after they do the whole spiel with the guy in the market. The first thing we see from Aladdin is him stealing. First thing, absolute first thing that happens in the movie, he's stealing. And I mean, if you're in the film, you know that kind of sets the tone for what you're about to see. So let's keep going. The older women were flirty with him as he was running away after stealing bread. So apparently, these old chicks had a thing for bad boys, even though they've lived their life, or whatever, or they thought Aladdin was cute, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna just flirt with this cute man and see what I can get out of it." But he did negative things, and he was rewarded for it. Well, I mean, if you want to call being flirted with by old women reward, but he was rewarded for it. Um, there's not really much interaction between that, but I will say one thing about the men in the movie. So basically, we're talking about the Sultan, we're talking about Aladdin, we're talking about Jafar. There's some guards and some shop owners in the film, of course, that are all men. And then there's a couple of princes who come to suit Jasmine. The shop owners in the movie that Aladdin steals from, what I noticed is that all of them were like big and like scary, like angry guys, and they were really about really about their business. And Aladdin is one of my favorite characters. Was as I see this play out on the screen, I'm looking at them like, yo, those shop owners got a point. This little dude just came in and stole some of my merchandise that I need to feed my family. And that dude had a right to be angry. But as kids, you're like, oh, that's Aladdin. We're supposed to care about him. But he stole in the first scene. So, all right. So we get to the castle. Jasmine is doing her thing. All these suitors come to see her because, back then you did that thing. Princes from other areas and countries would come. They'd marry the princess. If the Sultan didn't have a son, then they marry the princess, and then they would be in line to become Sultan. But the law was that the princess had to marry a prince, right? So, but the thing is, she's not liking any of the choices that she has, and so she's just shooing them all away. And there's actually a scene where Prince Ahmed comes in, and her tiger Raja takes a bite out of his pants, and he runs away screaming. When the Sultan asks her, like, what was that about? Jasmine, she says, oh, Raja was just having some fun, not taking any accountability for what just happened. You threatened a man's life with a tiger, and she just played it off for fun. That kind of reminds me of a story one of my friends told me where his wife, like he and his wife were joking around, and he made a joke of like something that was like really exaggerated and like couldn't possibly be real. And she joked back with him and said something along the lines of like making fun of his mom's like missing teeth or something. Like, that's not a joke. Like, just because you say it and it's abnormal doesn't make it a joke. Like a lot of times they sound like bullies. Like, haha, you're missing teeth. Like, that's not a joke. But Jasmine took no responsibility for getting that man's ass eaten by a tiger. Pause. No homo. Let's see. So she shoos away all these things, and then she decides to escape the castle. And then she's going around the market. She has no idea how money works. uh, like a lot of women. He has no idea how money works, and so she just takes up some bread or some fruit, and she gives it to these kids. And the shop owner's like, "What the f are you doing? You can't do that." And she's like, they're hungry, and like she still doesn't get it. And so Aladdin sees this, and he jumps in, and he starts lying, and he says that Jasmine is his deranged sister. And he's like, just play along. And they play along, and then they eventually run away, and they get away. Let's see, they ran away, and when they're safe, she didn't even question him about anything that they were stealing, because Abu had dropped like some coins or something, and she asked no questions about that. I guess she was just grateful for her life being saved. Apparently they were trauma bonding because they both felt trapped in their situations. Aladdin trapped in the streets as a vagrant, and Jasmine trapped in the castle, or in the Sultan's quarters, or Sultan's house, with her suitors and her tiger. She felt trapped. He felt trapped. Trauma bonds. All right. Aladdin lied about something that Abu said, and basically made him his wingman. I forgot what exactly he said. I didn't take note of that. And then they kiss maybe 15 minutes after they meet. Very deep kiss. So Aladdin, he asked. Jafar takes him up. You took the princess, whatever. He offers him some penance for his crime, and he takes him to this cave where he goes to find the magic lamp. You know the rest of the story. They find a magic carpet. Genie pops out, 3 wishes, yada yada yada. So one of the things that Aladdin wishes for is for the genie to help him become a prince so that he can marry Princess Jasmine. Genie has no objection to this. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna do that." So Genie just totally upfront just helped this man lie. Ain't that crazy? He just helped this man lie, and saw nothing wrong with it. It wasn't until later where Genie finally was like, "Yo, dude, we need to tell her the truth." Let's see. So in between all of that, Jasmine's with the Sultan, and they're having a conversation. And at some point, she just says, "I am not a prize to be won," which I thought was pretty interesting, because I know a lot of women feel like they're the prize. So when she says, "I'm not a prize," well, I'm like, well, what does that even really mean anymore? What does that mean? You're not a prize. Let's see. So after walking in, I'm sorry. So Aladdin gets his thing going, where he's like he gets his thing going where he's the princess. He's the prince, and they do the whole elephant thing, that Prince Ali of Ababwa song. And he walks in, he presents himself as Prince Ali of Ababwa. Jasmine says no, because he came in just like everybody else. He walks away feeling dejected, and Genie's just like, "Yo, bro, just tell her the truth, dude. Like, you did everything like everybody else, and maybe she's looking for something different. Just tell him the truth, bro." And Aladdin's like, "But dog, you see how fly I look? Like, I can't turn this down." So he upholds his princely gimmick, and he's kicked out of the grounds of the Sultan's grounds. Takes his magic carpet, flies up to her window. That's breaking and entering, folks. That's trespassing. He's not supposed to be on palace grounds. He's not supposed to be on palace grounds. Why are you on palace grounds, bro? So he goes up to her window. He holds on to this princely gimmick that he has, and takes her on the magical carpet ride that we all know and love so much. Holding on to these lies, they get to a spot where they just sit and talk, and she's like, "I think I know you from somewhere," and he's like, "Nah, you don't know me." And then she like points it out, like, "Yeah, I do." It's like, you're the man from the market." And Aladdin, feeling like the jig is up, he decides to lie again. he's lying again, because what he says next is, oh, well, I sometimes go amongst the commoners in my I go with the commoners. I dress up like a commoner because I want to see what everybody else is doing. I want to be normal. And she was like, well, why didn't you tell me? I'm like, oh, geez, here we go. So already, damn near everything he said to Jasmine at this point has been a lie. So, Jasmine, let's see, Jasmine last one say he dresses commoner time to time. Yeah. Genie convinces Aladdin that all his problems can be solved by telling the truth. And Aladdin finally decides he's going to tell Jasmine the truth. And when he shows up to the announcement that, in between this, he asked Jasmine, he was doing the marriage thing. He told Jasmine picked her suitor. It was going to be Aladdin or Prince Ali. And she told the Sultan. Sultan got all excited. They threw a big festival or big celebration or big announcement in front of the palace. So Aladdin's going to run to tell her, like, hey, I'm marriage. I'm ready for marriage. Or no, I'm sorry, that's not what he said. Blame it on the alcohol. Aladdin runs to her and he's ready to tell her the truth. Look, I'm broke. I ain't got nothing. I'm just some dude you met in the street. We had nice chemistry. I thought you was cute or whatever. I saw your tummy out, so I was like, you know what? That's kind of nice. She go against the grain, and I imagine this is how he would kick it. You know what I mean? Just hey, I'm sorry I lied to you, but I'm just a bum. You know what I mean? I ain't got a job. I steal for a living. That monkey's my best friend, but I liked you, so maybe we can, make something happen. I ain't a prince, but I could be your side prince or something. You know what I mean? We can kick it from time to time. You can come out in the market with me. I'll teach you how to steal some stuff. We can go scamming together, right? So he runs up to her, tells her none of this, by the way, because she just grabs him and just pushes him out there and like, go see the people. And he goes out and now he has to hold it in. All right, so that doesn't happen because she pushes him out in haste. Things happen. Somehow Jafar gets a hold of the of the lamp. He goes for his first wish was to make him sultan, so he turned his clothes white, which was weird because later he became the most powerful sorcerer. Like that was his second wish, and then his clothes turned back to the color in which they were. So I'm like, what was the whole point of making putting the white on Jafar? It made no sense to me. So Jafar finally exposed Aladdin in a song. There's a point where he actually threatens to hit Jasmine, but doesn't go through with it. And he wants to use his third wish to make Jasmine fall in love with him, showing that he wants to take the easy route, especially to become Sultan. And then Aladdin finally apologized for his lie after he's exposed. Genie tells Aladdin that he'll never find another girl like that in a million years. And Aladdin is, pleading his case or whatever. And the Sultan is like, yo, we're going to change the law because my daughter has chosen a suitor and she likes this guy. So from here on out, the princess no longer has to marry a prince, which is interesting to me because he didn't change the law that wouldn't make that man sultan. So now, when the sultan passes away, his land is going to be ruled by somebody who used to be a street dweller. That's crazy. A thief and a liar. Because Aladdin only told, well, to Jasmine anyway, he only told one truth the entire movie, and that was the end where he told her like, hey, I'm sorry. Like when he got exposed, like Derek Jackson, he got exposed. And he was like, look, Jasmine, I'm sorry. This is the truth. And I mean, we can still kick it. So at the end of the movie, also, this is very important. Mind you, this all happened in like 2 or 3 days. 2 or 3 days. Is this why y'all think it should be like this automatic marriage chemistry that we should have? You got to build into that sort of thing. Disney only has so much time. In my research, actually, I looked in a lot of these Disney movies, like these older Disney movies that we love growing up, were only like an hour and a half long. they only had so much time to work with. We can't fall in love that fast. We're not supposed to. So, in summary, Aladdin was a thief and a liar. He lied his way into getting with a woman several times. She caught him in the lie a few times. He got put in jail, so he has a record. Uh, he saved her from Jafar, which I guess expunged his record to her, because she still ended up falling in love with him. And y'all wonder why these dudes do all the things that they want to you, and they still end up in your presence because you reward them. Not me. I don't have a record. I'm not a thief. I'm a 31-year-old black man with no kids, a good job, and no insurance, no prison record. I'm pretty good. But some of these other guys y'all date, imagine how they might have been influenced by this subconsciously, even. Oh, I can lie and steal and still get the chick I want. I can still get the baddest chick if I just do all these things. Apparently so. All right. Let's see. I don't have really much else about Aladdin. I just think that Aladdin was a D boy, and I'm sorry, F boy. He was an F boy. He lied. He was dirty macking the whole time, and he ended up winning. Like, just been being honest, that one time he ended up winning. Ain't that crazy? If I feel like if I lied to a chick that entire time, got exposed in a song, like imagine somebody put a diss song out about you, right? Somebody gets exposed in a song, and then you got to go look at go look at her. Like, I mean, they ain't lying. Like, he's not lying. I'm sorry, but I'm here. What you gonna do about it? That's nuts. All right, let's see where we at in the comments here. Derek Abwabwa. Oh yeah, I did skip the fight scene. Actually, I don't even remember I don't know what I remember from the fight scene. Never watched it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe. I feel like somebody has. What do you mean? Oh, please, y'all know who y'all want or who you want. Please clarify that. I'm all about clarification on here. It's comments. Like I don't know what people are saying. It's the comments. I mean, if you got something that you need to say, I need some context to it. That's all I ask for. Just give me some context. A cave and evil genie. Let's see. What can you tell me, Kel? I'm sorry. What can y'all tell me? I gotta respect his pronouns. If if somebody wants to be referred to in the plural, I'll respect your pronouns. What will what will y'all tell me? We're gonna move on from this to something else now. I'll stop sharing this screen here, and we're back. All right. That is what happened in the right scene. A cave. What do you mean the right scene? What does that mean? The right scene? Not saying it takes 3 days, but you guys know when you were wet. Oh, who you were with? Oh, that's what you mean. Okay. Yeah, no. Men generally know who we see as wife material from very early on. It's just a matter of what happens down the road. Things may change, and a lot of times, even with guys, like we'll stick with women. We'll just stick with women just because we like her enough, and we willing to deal with a lot of stuff. Eventually, I mean, most breakups are done by women. Most breakups are done by women, and so we don't really get that far. But yeah, most guys, I can agree. Like, who you want to marry or who you can see as wife material from very early on. Like, I think women know women know if they'll sleep with the guy right away, and men know who they're going to marry right away, or who they might see as a marriage material right away. Um, I mean, granted, we're gonna know who we want to have sex with right away. But I think if we go on a date with those intentions, I think we kind of figure out like who might be right for us and who's not. It takes a little bit of like fine tuning in your dating life, but it happens. Okay. Second wish to become a sorcerer. Aladdin returns from Antarctica. This is the fight scene, by the way. The fight scene I forgot about. So Aladdin returns from Antarctica, sneaks into Jafar to fight Jafar, but Jafar turns into a snake. Yeah, I don't know how I missed that. Aladdin tricks him by saying genie is more powerful. I do remember that. And Jafar wishes to be a genie, which traps him in the lamp, and he drags Iago with him. Yeah, I remember that scene. Now I remember that scene. The snake part. Oh, he was a giant snake, right? No, I would not like you to explain the sequel, which was what Aladdin and the 40 Thieves or something. I think I watched that more than I watched the original, quite honestly. Hey Melissa, what are you talking about when you say women plus? I need to know what that means. I need to know what these things mean. I mean, people keep putting stuff in the comments, and I'm like, what are you trying to say to me? I don't get it. Uh, I can't read your minds, and I honestly, there's a delay on these, and so when I see your comment, oh, Return of the Jafar is the sequel. 40 Thieves is like the Lion King 1.5. Or two, yeah. Sorry, the King of Thieves. I haven't watched that movie in so long. Listen, I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I wasn't really a Disney kid growing up. I watched some. I watched a few movies, especially in my adulthood. But my parents were always late to the party on stuff. They always ended up buying the sequels after the movies were popular. So when Friday came out, my parents bought Next Friday, and that's what I watched on VHS. Um, all right, so that was the story of Aladdin, and basically, Aladdin lied his way to get him some peace leave. Shout out to CGA. He lied to get him some peace leave, and he lied several times. He got caught in that lie, and at the end, he ended up getting him some peace leave. Not to mention the fact that you're going to be king in a few years after the Sultan dies. That's a hell of a deal for somebody who's been lying and stealing the whole movie. Ain't that crazy? What are you teaching these kids, Disney? Got you. So, the next movie is no. When Friday came out and it became a really popular movie, they never bought the movie Friday when it came on VHS. They waited until next Friday came out, and then they brought me that on VHS. So my parents, like I always say, they were behind. Uh, like we had sequels at the house. Aladdin and the King of Thieves. We didn't have Aladdin. We didn't have Return of Jafar. We had Aladdin and the King of Thieves because my parents finally recognized, like, oh, this is popular. Okay. So moving on. That was Aladdin. And the next film. No, how in the world? The next film is one that we're all pretty familiar with. They came out with a sequel where Beyonce was the worst part of it. Shut me down, I don't care. But it's the truth. She was definitely the worst part of this sequel. And I'm okay with that. I'm not really a Beyonce fan like that. But we're going to talk about The Lion King. And The Lion King tells a story of a prince by the name of Simba. He is born to a lion, of course, because it's The Lion King. Let me see. Where is it? Okay. All right. It is The Lion King. So The Lion King tells the story of a young lion cub named Simba who has his dad Mufasa, his uncle Scar, Zazu is in there, Timon, Pumbaa, and the two of the hyenas are male in it. And then we have, of course, Sarabi, Nala and Sarabi, and I think her name is Shinzi, the hyena, right? So let me go back to the comments real quick. So yes, we're gonna stick to the animated version of the Lion King. So Simba is born. There's not much like Simba Nala interaction as you might understand, but we're going to talk about it anyway, and basically how the male figures are depicted in this. So Simba is born to Mufasa. Of course, Mufasa is proud. This is his son. One day, the king. Yes, okay. So Mufasa is proud of his son. He's going to be a great king one day. He's basically giving him all the guidance and what he needs to know in order to be the king. And then he has his hating ass uncle Scar, who is like, I should be the king, and if it wasn't for this child, then I would be the next in line, which really makes me question how old Scar is. Now, I did a little research for this movie, and I learned that the average lifespan of a lion is somewhere between 12 and 14 years. Right? So if they're brothers, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out the math. Like, how old are you, bro? Because Mufasa is gonna die, and how long are you gonna be king? Like a year? But I also did some research on that, and I'll come back to it. So, hating ass Uncle Scar is basically threatening Mufasa, and just like, oh, Mufasa's like, yo, I didn't see you at the coronation for your nephew, and Scar is like, I ain't want to see that shit. I'm not gonna be king, so whatever. I don't care anymore, right? So, as Scar, let's see, hating as Uncle Scar, he threatens Mufasa. Mufasa, is that a challenge? And then Scar is like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Scar, of course, has his hyena clan, and he boasts that he's the smartest of the brothers. He's the smartest of the brothers, and he's like, well, Mufasa has all the brawn, I have all the brains. So he just continues hating on his uncle, hating on his nephew. So Mufasa is shown being a great dad. He's guiding Simba into being a great king. He's really like laying out there. He's good. When the antelopes die, their bodies become the grass. Like, we eat the antelope, and then when we die, our bodies become the grass. It's the circle, that kind of thing. He's really, dropping some gems on him. Zazu is messenger, is his observer. He's a know-it-all. Not a wholly bad prediction. He's kind of smart, yet kind of goofy, as most guys in these movies are. Rafiki, of course, he's goofy guidance, and throughout the movie, I think he kind of plays the magical Negro to Simba, especially at the end. He's like the witch doctor. He's a monkey, magical Negro. Scar has an evil disposition from jump. Like, why didn't they run him out the clan earlier? Like, you could tell from the beginning, like, Scar was a problem. You can't tell me that dude was just walking around and nobody was like, oh yeah, he's not a threat. He'll be fine. Let's see. So I'm not gonna go through the whole story because you kind of understand the movie in the sense that, like, nothing really happens for real. As far as like male relationships with women, but what happens, of course, when Simba meets his bros, they get together on some disgusting stuff like eating bugs and whatnot, and they just chum it up, right? Oh, I'm sorry, let me go back. There's Nala. Simba and Nala, they're like brother and sister. Like, I think the way lions operate, like lions can have sex 50 times a day, right? So the way lions operate, it and the male lion is the head of the pride. It's fair to assume that Simba and Nala are related in some way. Let's put it that way. All right, it's fair to stand that they're related. So they're going around acting like brothers and sisters. Um, they're walking around like brother and sister. Uh, Zazu even says at some point, like, one day you two are gonna be married, and they're like, ew, gross. That's like my sis or whatever. And then they do the whole "Can't Wait to Be King" song, and then of course you got Simba them being chased by the hyenas. Simba steps in to protect her, which men should be doing is protecting their women, or stand up, be a protector if you can. Let's see. I want to fast forward to when he like runs away now, because that's when a lot of the meat of it happens. So Mufasa's killed. Scar somehow makes Simba think he's responsible for it, saying that his roar was too loud. He started to stampede, and then he runs away because Scar told him to run away. His only guidance is, I mean, he saw his dad die, so his only guidance is his uncle. He's young and naive. He doesn't know any better. He can't tell that that man has a scar on his face for whatever reason. He doesn't know he's evil, right? So Simba runs away. He finds his bros, Timon and Pumbaa. At first they're afraid of him, and then they just end up broing out, singing songs, Hakuna Matata, and eating bugs and whatnot, and just chillaxing in the forest. So one day Nala's snooping around. She sees Timon and Pumbaa, and she wants to eat them, of course, And then out of nowhere, Simba jumps in. He starts to tussle with her a little bit. And then just out of nowhere, she's like, "Do I know you?" And then they have their whole reunion and everything. And she's like, "Oh my God, everybody's gonna be so excited to know you're still alive. We thought you were dead. And why are you out here?" Like, "Oh, the Pride Rock is bare and dry." And he's like, "That's cool." She's like, "You're gonna come back, right?" He's like, "Nah, I'm not doing that, dude. I eat bugs now. I'm not gonna do that. I chill with a warthog and a meerkat. Like, I'm not gonna do that, dude. Like, y'all can have Pride Rock. Like, I'm not going back there, right?" And so they do this whole thing where they gotta talk. Like Timon and Pumbaa are like, "Yeah, bro, you're gonna be kicked. That's awesome. That's great." They're like really rooting this on, and Simba's like, "Nah, dude." Like, it kind of reminded me of how people talk about men and their mental health issues and how we don't want to talk about it, because yeah, whatever. Yeah, so we don't talk about men and their mental health issues. And so Simba's clearly like going through some PTSD, been in depression for a long time. By the way, I'm gonna say that around the time that they were kids, I want to say that they were about like 8 or 9. Uh because I mean in human years, because if they were born, they were at year like 1. They're like less than a year. Again, the average lifespan for lions is like 14 years. So they would be like when they sung "Can't Wait to Be King," they were probably like 6 months in our time. When they see each other again, it's been like 2 years in our time. 2 years in our time. And to them, that would make them between 15 and 18 years old. And lions aren't fully sexually mature until 4 years, which is 18 and 19 in human years. So it's been a while since they've seen each other. So they have their little private discussion because Timon and Pumbaa are hyping him up, and she's trying to convince him, and he's like, "Nah," and she asks for some privacy. So they, take a moment to go talk. The "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" thing comes on. These two lions have sex, and then she was like, "You're coming back to Pride Rock, right?" And he's like, "Nah, I told you, like, I'm not gonna do that." Like, so I laugh because it reminds me of a lot of situations where like women want something from a guy, And some of them think that sex is gonna work, but eventually it doesn't. But they ended up having sex with him, and then he's like, "No, I've told you what I'm not gonna do. Like, you're not about to change my mind on this, right?" So let me see. So he decides not to go back to Pride Rock, and he decides not to go back to Pride Rock, and eventually his magical Negro shows up, Rafiki, and he basically tells him like, "Yeah, no, you're your dad. Your dad died, but he lives within you." That spiel. So he finally listens. He goes back to Pride Rock. There's a battle ensues. He kills his uncle, which is nuts. Or no, the hyenas eat him. That's what happened. So he set him up. He set him up to get eaten, and then the story ends. The main takeaway for me really is that Simba Simba disappeared, was gone for years. I mean, in lying years anyway, because they went from like 7 years old to like 18, 19, right? So he went away for a bunch of years. His sis came and found him. They ended up getting horny and doing it. Like after she tried to change his mind, and she couldn't change his mind after they did it. That's crazy to me. I don't really have much else about the Lion King. I know I missed out on that fight scene too, but I was trying to watch it on my lunch break at work today, and I didn't make it to the end. But I know, I mean, it's a movie we've seen enough to know, like, there's some weird men in this movie. Not weird, but I will say this: watching the Lion King, watching a lot of different things. Uh, the men are usually flawed. I think Mufasa was probably the only character in that movie that didn't have some kind of flaw. Although I guess he got fooled by Scar and his brilliant plan. But Mufasa really didn't have a flaw, and he had to die early. I started to watch. Oh yeah, not to mention Nala got pregnant. Family baby, keep it in the family. Um, so what was it I was just saying about? So Mufasa really didn't have a flaw. Uh, but he died early, and I noticed that watching a lot of these movies, like the flawless characters, the characters that are like absolutely perfect, they end up killing them off. Like to start this, I actually was gonna watch The Princess and the Frog as well. Uh, I was gonna watch The Princess. I'm sorry, I watch comments sometimes while I talk. So I like to fact check myself through the comments. Um, when I watched The Princess and the Frog, the only man in that movie who wasn't like a bum or like loud. I mean, outside of like the side characters who didn't have any conversation, any dialogue. Her dad in The Princess and the Frog was like the most uplifting. You can do it, go girl. It's gonna be our restaurant. It's gonna be your restaurant. You're gonna take over the world. And he ended up dying like 5 minutes into the movie. Um, but that's what happens in a lot of these things is that the characters that mean the most to you, or the character not to mean the most, but the characters who you think are like the best things in it, like they're the stable ones and the one they're gonna maintain, they end up dying in the beginning. Um, let's see. Let's go to the comments. In real life, Scar would have had to start his own pride, but for conflict, they needed it. They needed him in it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a Disney movie. It happens. It's story. It's a made up story. I guess you just got to suspend belief. But it's kind of interesting to watch movies with like real life context. It kind of takes the mystique out of it, but it is sure entertaining to me. Let's see. Simba actually acknowledged that she was Nala first. Okay, I got that one a little backwards. That's fine. Let's see. Who set who up trying to weasel out? Scar did. Scar set himself up. Is that what we're saying now? All right. So that was interesting. What I'm going to start doing. It's like a mirror here. I can't tell what's right and what's left. So, um, so I'm probably going to come back to a couple of other movies um later down the road, just because it really gives me a chance to look back at my childhood. I really want to watch The Little Mermaid, um because I know there's a scene in there where she loses her voice, and I'm interested in seeing how that played out. I haven't watched The Little Mermaid maybe but once in my entire life, and so next time around, I'm definitely gonna talk about that scene as well. Uh, do, 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 do. We got usually I cut this off about an hour, but I should have watched a third movie, I guess. The Princess and the Frog, I actually got halfway through and fell asleep, but I'm not going to talk about that one. Okay, shout out to Kel. He's like my resident Disney expert. He keeps me abreast of all these things. Um, well, I guess now I'm not talking about anything else as far as Disney goes. Sorry to tell you. And I don't want to talk about Jerry Jackson anymore. Uh, but I kind of want to get on my soapbox a little bit. Um, just something that's been kind of bothering me all week, and that's just what I've noticed when it comes to dating and women, dating women, is that women don't feel like they have to work for anything. Um, I can tell you a lot of things that women expect from a man, but many of these women don't know what men expect from them. And when you tell them, it's like, oh well, I don't need to, I shouldn't have to do all of this to get a man. It should just come naturally. No, it doesn't come naturally. You need to work to get. Like, I don't understand why people feel like competition is this like dirty word. Um, Men compete, and we know we compete. One of my dear friends, we had a conversation about this, and we'll probably talk about it earlier. Um, and I mean, again, I guess this kind of stems from last week's too. Um, one of my dear friends was telling me about a guy who's like showing himself, to be better than the rest. And she just, oh, now you believe that there's competition. Okay. Why does it, I often I have to ask myself, why is it that women think that, um, why is it that women feel like they don't have to do anything but basically be black and die? It's why be black and die. That seems like the thing. I'm sorry, what? A man who thinks what opposite? What's the opposite? It just seems like women have to be black and die. Just be you, be there, and it seems like it's good enough. And that just bothers me because I'm like, what do you even really know about men? What do you know about men? You just think you're supposed to exist, that your being is good enough, and then usually it's met with that he's gonna have to step up to his game to be with you somehow, but you don't have to do anything because you come like perfect, which I know is not true. We get into relationships, you want to make your man feel good or whoever feel good, and so you acquiesce accordingly. But to even start, like, the mentality going in, because even with a lot of single women, the mentality going in is, I don't have to do anything. Hey, if you wanna chime in, I'll be glad to talk to you about this. I'm very interested in knowing how dating is not a competition. Um, the whole process is a competition. Like, especially if you have like if you're dating multiple people, but everything's a competition. Hierarchies and social stratification are pretty much inevitable in our world. So how dating is not a competition, I don't understand. Like you have to compete, and I'm glad you brought this up. I feel like you even have to compete in marriage. Now, I'm not married or anything, but she's writing that everybody, especially these days, is expendable. People getting divorces and whatnot, left and right. Like just like, oh, I can do better than you, or I don't want to be in this anymore. Our generation, especially, we quit. We quit quite easily, and so yeah, I feel like you have to compete with everybody because you still have to get that man. You still have to get that man's attention or that woman's attention. You still have to keep them interested in you. That's competition. I mean, it's maintaining. It's kind of like a championship team who's just trying to like win the championship again and again and again and again. But you still have to maintain. I mean, you still have to compete with people. Relationships at work on both ends. Anyone who thinks otherwise is fooling themselves and probably not ready. No, absolutely. You got to get ready for the work, but you also have to be ready to compete. The guy that was, oh, I'm so sorry. The guy that was competing just quit. Was it Derek Jackson? I'm kidding. Um, but I feel like it's a competition. Dating is a competition. You have to go out and show somebody why they should drop all of the other numbers in their phone for you. Why they should drop all their options for you. To me, that's pretty easy to identify as competition. We don't use points, and we don't have a scoreboard for these things, but it's competition nonetheless. Uh, I was actually talking about this in one of my classes today, um, where I asked them, I looked at them and said, like, we live in this world where we think we don't have to compete for anything. People get participation trophies thinking that if they just show up, they'll be rewarded for it. But we also start off our lives in competition. We start off our lives in competition with how human beings are born, right? So for each ejaculation, there are 100 million sperm in every ejaculation, and only one of them is going to fertilize the egg. If you are here watching this, congratulations, you started off life as a winner. You beat 99,999,000 999,999 other sperm to get here. Congratulations. We start off as competition. So I don't understand where the idea that we don't have to compete or you don't have to compete for anything comes from. I mean, it depends on, well, this goes into another argument. It depends on when you think your life begins. If some people believe that when sperm meets egg, that's when life begins. Other people believe that's when you're outside of the womb and you have a social security number. That's when life begins. It's all about, your perspectives on it, really. Um, but no, we're in constant competition. I don't know why anybody would think otherwise. Especially if you're dating multiple people, especially if you really like somebody and you want them to if you want them to be with you and you know that they have a decision to make, it's a competition. You have to beat out everybody else to get that person. And it's like I really would like to know this guy who says that it's not a competition, because if he doesn't think it's a competition, that means he's like batting 1,000 when it comes to women, and no man is batting 1,000 when it comes to women. Not even the infallible Derek Jackson batted 1,000 when it came to women, I'm sure. All right, we fertilize out of ignorance. Sure. That's an interesting way to think about it. Now, one thing I guess because I had it last night, I didn't really think about doing much else. Yeah. Um, let's see. I am going to. All right, Amanda, hold tight. I'm gonna send you this link here. I just sent you the link. I thought it was pinned to the. I thought it was pinned to the conversation, but I guess not. If you want them to be okay. And it's like I really would like to. I thought it was pinned down to the in the comments, but I guess not. Let's see. Right. HTTPS. But yeah, it's competition. It's always competition. I don't understand how anybody would say otherwise. I don't like the comment that I saw the other day that really got to me was like nobody should be competing. It should just be compatibility. That's not how these things work. If it was just compatibility, that would mean if it was just compatibility in any instance, I mean, just imagine if like you went to that job, like you visited a workplace and you were like, yo, I really see myself working here. I'm very compatible with this environment. And then you just got the job. That's not how that works. You have to work to get into that job. You have to compete with other people to get that position filled. And it should be like that for other people. You can't just like expect chemistry to model or to not model, but to be like um you can't expect chemistry to be like the main driver of your relationships. That's how people get hurt. That's how people end up having beautiful sex life but end up being like really messed up because that person they thought they were so in love with and had an emotional connection with ended up being a lunatic. You don't do that. Do 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 waiting on this call. Oh, we're gonna have to do a show about that one. About polygamy. I wasn't a polygamist, but I was definitely in an open relationship, which is a form of polygamy. And yeah, those are fun for a while. It's a big headache. Well, we could talk about that later. I got a couple other topics I want to get in uh, before. Sir, what? What do you mean, sir? What? Yeah, I was. I mean, are you talking to him or are you talking to me? But no, I was in an open relationship before, and that was a piece of work. I only recommend it if you are like super strong, if you know you got a bond with such person, um, or if you got a bond with such somebody in an agreement that you know nothing's gonna break up the partnership you built for your life. By all means, go for it. Polygamy could be the answer if you really wanted to. It is you just have to want it to. Let's see. What's up, man?
Oh, what's up? This interesting how you just sent me that link real quick.
I mean, when do you expect me to send it? Oh,
I mean, no, like I didn't, I don't know how any of this works. So, I'm like an old lady. I'm like, oh, this is cool.
oh yeah, no, it's welcome to the 21st century. Ever since COVID happened, like all these different, people live stream like video games and all kinds of stuff. And so now,
All kinds
since
of
streaming,
stuff.
yeah, since streaming is the thing, there are all these different platforms. I'm just using one.
No, but the conversation that my friend had that arose was he has a podcast and he was asking specifically like what is applying pressure. And so, like, he kind of got into the conversation of what applying pressure is and, like, how that's very subjective depending on what woman you're talking to. And,
It
like,
is.
it's a lot of things that men are just expected to do and not to do with no discussion about it. And he was just kind of on the, like, I understand, like, that, we're all on the playing field. Everybody can't have anybody. He was like, but I'm not necessarily, like, competing. Like, I think competition kind of gives the illusion of winning and losing. And so if a relationship doesn't make it, am I a loser in that? So I think maybe it's just the connotation of the word competition. Because like I told you, if I wasn't an athlete, I would have never, even though I agree, put your best foot forward, but am I saying that I'm trying to beat out every single person you're talking to? What if what you want isn't me? Or, it might be a compromise you might have that I don't want to compromise. And so, no, I'm not going to do any and everything that you want to do to prove to you that I'm the one. Like, I feel like that when women do that, we often get the short end of the stick.
Okay. Well,
and I'll say that a lot of women have the mentality of some of the experiences that they've seen through other women. When you do see people who kind of do any and everything before a certain stage, what's too much? I feel like that is so subjective. So what's the competition? What's too much? What's doing
so when you talk about competition, I mean, there are going to be winners and losers, but the issue that people have is the idea that they don't want to be identified as a loser, and especially because I know, and I mean not old wives, but older people, if people get divorced and they look upon them like, oh, you fail, your marriage failed, and they carry that stigma with them. But if you are competing with if you are dating somebody and they want to get to a certain position in your life, they're going to compete for you. They're going to try to stand out. And even if they don't consciously think to themselves that that's what they're doing, you're still trying to show her hey, I'm a good guy. Or, so hold on.
Not just dating,
hold on. That is, but dating is a competition. Somebody, especially if you want a monogamous situation with a marriage, somebody has to come out on top. And the problem is that people tend these days, especially, they tend to take their losses way too harshly rather than say, hey, I lost this time, let me fix this. And people like to hold on to their trauma, or hold on to their heartbreak, instead of saying hey, let me fix this for next time. I may have people always talk about you got to fail a bunch of times, put in your 10,000 hours, blah blah blah. But the whole point is in order to make an omelet, you got to break a couple eggs. But people don't look at it like that. They're like, oh, I failed this one relationship, I'm bad at relationships. Or so it's nothing wrong with competing and losing. It's just about, again, how you get up off that horse, how you get back on the horse. When you get back up, what are you gonna do with it? But there's nothing wrong with losing. I mean, as guys, we get that. Guys should understand, because I'm sorry to cut you off. Guys should understand what winning and losing is, because we do it every day.
Because honestly, I've heard just as many and you know what? I think that's kind of I think even the idea of labeling the competition in a sense is somewhat not a totally male perspective, but I know for a fact that most women will not say that dating is a competition. Number one,
I know they won't.
Don't feel like that. I know they won't. People agree that you have to put your best foot forward. But I think with a competition, okay, so I say how we was having a conversation when I said I think about it of me being an athlete. So when I think about a competition in my mind, I think that I have a clear opponent that I'm trying to beat. Us just dating is you could be talking to that other girl, you could be talking to this person, you could be not talking to anybody at all. We might or might not have that conversation. But I think competition leads people to think that there is a specific individual that I am operating against to get a win. And so I think that in that literal sense of it, it's and are you having conversation with this person about the other people in your life? To the extent are you having these conversations that you're aware of what the other people are doing or not doing to make sure that you're doing above that in order to get to the next level? Or
let's look at it this way. Kel said because women usually aren't doing the pursuing, you can't lose if you're not participating.
Exactly.
That's one of the reasons why women don't think about it that way. So women don't. Hold on. Women pursue, but they don't do it in the same way as men. Are more active pursuers. We'll go out, we'll see a woman, we'll approach her, and that's how we pursue. Women pursue by putting themselves in a position to be pursued. So I've heard women say I've heard people say oh, if you want to meet a rich man, you need to go hang out at the bar at a Ruth Chris or something. right?
Mhm.
So women who want those kind of guys, they're going after those guys, but they're putting themselves in a position to be acknowledged. That's how women pursue. But when you talk about competition and like you thinking about being an athlete or something, you're essentially and talking about dating not being one. You're essentially doing the same thing as if like somebody had cancer, right?
You say
Because
I'm essentially what?
I mean, okay. Think about it in the terms of like somebody having cancer, right? Cancer is something that is inside of you. You can't see it, but you can overcome cancer. When people talk about being cured for cancer, they say they did what to cancer? B word.
Hmm.
They they did what to cancer?
They beat the cancer.
They beat cancer, right?
Yeah.
So if you win a boyfriend out of all the women he's dating, you beat those other women. You don't have to know who they are. You don't have to acknowledge their
I
presence, but you beat them. You won. But people don't look at it that way. You
and
won.
honestly, I understand what you're saying, but I probably won't look at it that way. I may think that my husband or whoever I end up with is glittering fucking gold, but I'm probably not going to ever be like, I beat out all of the women in the world to get him. Like all of the women in the like that does. I think sometimes that does something maybe for a male. Like is that an ego thing? I don't think that doesn't do anything.
Okay, here
like,
we go.
That doesn't make me.
So here's my thing. Here's my thing. And this is the issue. This is one of the issues I have when I talk to women as well, is that why is it that every time something like this comes up and you don't understand it, it's about the male ego? It's just about what it's just what we do.
I didn't say
It's how we
I
look.
did not understand it.
Well, no, but I'm not saying you didn't understand. Okay, so, but you asked about the male ego. You brought up ego, and that's usually like a tactic women use when they say like, "Oh, you feel this way because you need your ego stroked," and it's not ego stroke. It's just how we are. So it's a competition because I mean, men naturally compete, and I suppose you could say yes. I suppose you could say yes. It is a part of our demeanor to like, win. Like we like to win. Men like to win. Everybody likes to win, but men actually compete. Like that's why all the sports have a lot of men in it, because men have the drive to compete. But when you look at it, I mean, even if like I don't know, maybe some like girls basketball team thinks they're just having practice, but it's always competition.
Like I don't.
Because
I don't think that like I don't have a natural spirit of competition about almost anything that I do. Even if the competition is present, the actual like idea of it being a competition, I don't think ever comes to the forefront. It's definitely competition. The more attractive or they can please the person, there'll be more competition. Oh yeah.
Well, no, I know it's never in the forefront. I know it's not in the forefront of your brain because you don't think of it that way. I mean, when I approach women, I'm not thinking about it in terms of competition either. Like I'm not thinking to myself, I have to like consciously. I'm not thinking like I have to beat these other guys in order to get her. But I know that in order for me to get with her, I definitely have to be my best self. And being my best self could win and it could lose. But I know that I am in competition with somebody or something, because I could very well be in competition with her own mind. Maybe she doesn't want to have a boyfriend, or maybe she's like anti-relationship right now. And I want to talk to her. I want to be with her. I have to overcome and beat her own mind. So it's a competition. People just don't like to call it that. Kel said, try this concept. If you get into college, you competed against all other applicants. Unless you went to ASU.
Their relationships the same way. They don't. That's just a fact. I don't look at my application process, and maybe you feel like
no. So, but the thing is, it's the principle behind it. It's not really necessarily saying like these two are exactly the same, but it's the idea that you put in against other people that you've never known. And in order for you to get into, like you went to law school, in order for you to get into that position, you had to compete with other people that you've never seen before.
And I think it was the way that law school is set up as far as grading and the competition is one of the most unhealthy parts of law school. But we won't get on that soapbox today.
No, but the idea still is that not everybody got in, right? Just like not everybody can get into their relationship with somebody, huh?
I guess it's like I guess maybe it's maybe it's the acknowledgement of it as a competition, because I just feel like that everything you're saying is like a given. Like, yeah. I just really think it's a semantics. Like, I don't think that women, I think that you as a man, like how there's certain ways that I think and feel about things and like terminology and things that women say that you'll probably never like, I'll probably never say that. I feel you,
Okay.
but I'm not gonna say that my dating is a competition.
And that's perfectly fine. But one of the most important things that's kind of happening right now, though, is that you are hearing it from a male's perspective. Now, I really don't understand how that dude said that it's not a like he's not competing. Like you're competing regardless.
Well,
but
he was saying, I guess I don't know. I'm trying to find. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but like I said, the question arose from the applying pressure situation. And he was just like, because I guess like he kind of looks at it. I was like, so do you think that dating is a competition? He was like, no, it's not a competition. I'm not moving the goalposts. I'm just trying to explain what old dude was saying without being inaccurate.
Oh, you gotta be careful when you're in the car doing that kind of stuff. People
all the
time.
But he was just saying from his perspective, he didn't feel like that it was a competition because of such of the nuance of like the ideas of like what that means and what the applying pressure means and how you even get into that space. He was just kind of saying it should just be a mutual thing. I get what you're saying.
That doesn't compute to me, because I mean, if you just around there smashing chicks, then I get it. It's not really a competition.
He's definitely not on that. He's definitely
but that's really the only thing that I can see it being a thing. Like if you're out there just like frivolously dating and you're not trying to be with anyone seriously, then I don't see how it's not. Then that's the only way I can see it not being a competition, because you're not out there trying to like be somebody's number one. You're just trying to get in. But even getting in is a competition, because you still have to overcome her BS. So I don't understand like the idea of it not being a competition. And that's kind of where I am.
Think it's a matter of like perspective, because I think at the end of it, we were kind of all like what you're saying, like the meat of it. Like if you were to just remove the word competition, and I know that you feel like at the end it is a competition, and that's the word that you're using. But I feel like if you were to remove that and say almost everything else that you're saying, most sides would completely agree.
Just remove the word competition.
Yep, because
I'm not gonna do that.
I know you're not.
I'm about to say, I'm not gonna do that.
I know you're not. I'm just saying it's
you
the
gotta take this
word.
No, you just gotta take this word, but that's part of the issue that we have within our community and amongst the people. It's just that like these words are enough to trigger you into like not wanting to listen to anymore. Why? Like it's the like what is wrong? I guess this is another soapbox of mine, but just this idea of listening to what somebody says and taking them for their words instead of like using specific trigger words, and then you just want to like tune out, don't want to listen. Although I will say, I cannot lie. When I see someone, when I'm in a conversation with somebody on social media, and I see the word patriarchy
and hetero
and no cishet, once I see those words, I'm like, conversation over. But that's usually because I know where this conversation is about to go.
How do you want that same courtesy for people not to say that they don't know where your conversations are going, but you don't want to extend it? Especially when it comes to the two words that you know for fact do trigger you. Those not the conversations that you should like. I do know this triggers me.
Well, here's the thing with me. I will continue the conversation, and I've done so before. And I've actually I've told them like, yo, like, because to me it's almost hypocritical. Like you want me to identify you how you want me to identify you, but I don't want to be called cishet, and yet you continue to call me cishet. It doesn't make sense to me. But it's not that the word itself, that like I don't like. It's not the connotation of the word. It's just that I know when people who use those words, I know people that use those words. I've had conversations with them before, and I know generally like 85-90% of the time, I know where that conversation is headed, and we're not going to come to any kind of agreement. That's why I just kind of like, okay, once you use the word patriarchy, cishet, like those are words that are meant to shut people up. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna let you have it.
Hmm.
Nobody says though, like when I see people use those words, it's usually because they're in like protest and they're down talking guys, or if they use those words in conversation, it's like you're transphobic, whatever. That's the problem with cis shit. I'm like, oh, you brought into the feminism. Okay, we can't have a conversation now.
Oh, and see, like I'm probably really ever in that position because not that somebody hasn't called me cishet, but I do think that men are called like the term is used to address men more so than it is me.
Oh yeah, for sure. More so with men. Well, at least that's how I see it on my timeline. People will talk about like cis. They always down talk cishet men, but they like talk cishet women, and I don't remember many of those. I'm not a woman, so it's never really in the forefront of
Yeah,
my brain.
I haven't seen cishet woman in a like together. I don't know if I've seen that together as often as I've seen man. But to be honest,
Right.
the competition is not everybody wants to admit.
Ho. Why are you reading my comments?
Because it popped up on the screen.
I know it popped up on the screen, but I read these. This is my show. Come on now.
Excuse me.
I'm
just reading it for myself.
Well, I'm gonna be like Kevin Samuels. I'm gonna hit the mute button. You're muted. Well, the system will tell you that you've been muted, so it wouldn't be as much as a surprise. But to be honest, it is a competition. But not everyone wants to admit that someone they think is less than them has the same odds as them. Yeah,
that's irrelevant to me. That they think is less than them. I like to me. I think now I do that. Think that this piece probably is definitely ego. If somebody feels like that, that's definitely their ego. Like, oh, somebody less than me got who I wanted. Like,
well,
or if you feel like a person doesn't match up, and then some of that is just jealousy. Because I'm not gonna say that I haven't said it. Oh, she don't have X. She's not this person. She doesn't have this characteristic or this quality. At the end of the day,
why?
So it's really no need for the comparison game because it's just like if I don't know.
Why call it ego? Why call it ego when really it's just like our self-esteem? I mean, and our insecurities. That's really all it is. Because I mean, if I like, okay,
ego isn't necessarily negative.
But when people use the word ego, it's kind of like, especially when I hear it referred to men, I'm like, oh god, here we go.
You got a lot of that. You just said and you got a few triggers.
Hold on. But even if I'm triggered, I will listen. I do that. I give that courtesy. It doesn't matter to you, of course, but a mass amount of society is superficial. Yeah, yes, they are very superficial.
We're all a little shallow, just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and people.
I know I'm a little shady.
Yeah, and people. She definitely is asked. I mean, I've asked before. Like, well, I haven't. I've never asked. I never really cared. Like, what does such and such have that I don't have? It's a competition. If you know, read
that last one. It went away fast.
Oh no, I wasn't. That wasn't meant to be put up. Okay. That was a reply to somebody else. But no, I mean, people will. They're gonna be in competition, and they don't want to know that somebody else has the same chances they do. They don't want to know. Like, it's almost like when, like, guys. I guess I understand this from a guy's perspective that we don't want to know who you sleep with. Like, a lot of guys aren't gonna ask you, like, how's it?
More than once.
More than once.
More than one. Like, you talk
stuff.
Guys, like, yeah, I've had conversations with guys that I'm talking to about other guys because they've asked, not because it was like, oh, so such and such, such and such. Like I've had guys who wanted to know about the competition. I'll say.
I mean, I'm talking about like bedroom stuff. I was using that as an example.
Okay.
Like, most dudes don't ask unless they're getting cheated on. Most dudes don't ask about how big the other guy is. We don't want to know. A lot of times, I mean, if a guy is asking about competition, honestly, I kind of feel like that's a way for him to try to set himself up to be better or see where he stands. Because I've definitely had women do the same thing, but women don't do it in a sense of women. I've had, I guess it can be a term. women don't do it in a sense of like, what are these other girls doing? They'll start asking me questions like, so what kind of things do you look for in a woman? And I happened to me a couple of times, and I kind of sensed like, oh, you're trying to like be what I need you to be. When I was 20, I was 19 when I had that question asked to me, and I like told her, I was like, just be yourself. Now I can tell her. I can tell her now. But no, people will ask about the others. Some stuff they just don't want to know, but I can I would assume most guys aren't going to ask you about everybody else and what they're doing. I would assume that I don't ask. I don't know any of my friends that be asking.
So like, I don't know. Okay, never mind. I like it.
Go ahead.
No, I just think that's I just think that like you said, those words. That's why you got to do. Sometimes you got to define your words because they mean different shit for different people. Because like, I think maybe just the competition word, maybe it's just in my mind, it's real literal, real like extra literal. And it's like from what you're like, you have a way more gray in how you're presenting it than what I think about when I just think of competition. The first thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah, it's all these words, and I'm again, I'm not going to use a different word, but I mean, it's a word. The idea is the same. It's almost like how I read a study that talked about the illiteracy in colored communities, communities of color versus white people or white communities, and the SAT bias, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they said that they gave them the SAT, and of course, white students did far better than the black students did. But what they ended up doing was they took that same test, they pretty much translated it into words that
we use
more culturally, culturally understood. They would understand culturally, and the kids did just as well as the white kids did.
It's terminology.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, like, in order for you to survive in another world, you have to understand their language, and you have to be able to accept their language. Like, you can teach them other stuff in other ways, but you have to accept them for what it is. So when it comes to like using the word competition and the idea of it being a competition, I mean, it may be triggering and whatever, but you still need to accept it for what it is. Let me go into the comments real quick. Women have been socialized secretly compete is so deeply ingrained that we often deny it, but check her out when her friends are trashing other women and how we secretly conform to a man's desired characteristics in a woman. Yeah, that happens. That's definitely a thing. Women trashing other women. That's competition. It's more like crab in the barrel type competition, but it's competition. And then of course you get with a guy. I've seen this happen. It's happened to me a few times. Women get with a guy and they just mold themselves into whatever he needs them to be.
So what would you say is the difference between that and what you're saying that people should do? Because I think what I think is what people, when they hear you say competition, they think that you are saying that last line of her sentence, turning yourself into whatever characteristic that they think or whatever that man wants you to be.
Well,
and I think that's what people are hearing when you're saying, like, I want to turn myself into whatever it is that this man needs to be to beat out any other woman, irregardless of what that is.
Well,
is that what happens?
Well, I guess I just have to ask then, like, if that's what you want, are you willing to do what it takes to get it? I mean, if you want to go ahead and be your best self and shoot for the moon, and like, the end of Aladdin where he finally decides to be different than those other guys, or like you want to be different than other girls and hope that he like latches onto it, by all means. But I mean, if a guy knows what he wants, then I mean, and you want him and you think he's going to do what he needs you to do, are you willing to do what it takes to get him?
I don't think that when people hear you talk about competition, all of those contingencies that you just placed in front of that,
yeah,
they don't hear any of that.
I'm sure they don't. And I mean, that's not my fault. I mean, I just summarize the idea into one word. and that's competition. So I mean, how you feel about it, and if people want to know, they can always ask. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we know from our world, like especially the world we live. I mean, the world we live in today, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You can be you, but again, if you seriously want something, are you going to do what it takes to get it? Men do it a lot. Men, there are guys who are like busting their like my. I forgot what the number was he used, but somebody told me that most of the guys in jail are in there because they're trying to satisfy some woman.
Most of the women are in jail for satisfying. That could
For
be
trying to satisfy some guy, but they don't get caught as often. But but
that's
but it's almost like when dudes wear flashy clothes, they try to get their get their business together, making all the money, driving fancy cars, all that stuff. Like it's competition for like we know what women like, or a lot of guys know what women like, and they doing what they can to try to get on. But we don't really. I mean, we know it's a competition, but it's also like a friendly competition for the most part. Like dudes will fight over a chick, but a lot of times we're just like, all right, he can have her. I'll go get another one.
Have you seen women play sports? We don't do friendly competition.
I'm
You
a
ain't never
ref-
girls
I'm a
basketball.
referee. Come on
High
now.
school, they are ruthless. They worse than the boys sometimes. They might
I'm a
kill you out there.
I'm a sports official. Come on now. I done seen.
I know some
So
bows.
no, but the thing is too. I mean, you also. I mean, you might also be talking about. I don't know what women's sports you're talking about, but like you're also talking about the ones who are competitive. Because I've seen some girls' sports that were like very apologetic and and not that harsh on competition. Let's see. I'm not gonna post that.
Post it.
Okay, Brandis, what is this? It's definitely pressing to the black community for women because we outnumber black men. What is? Are you talking
Competition is
about?
the black community
I
for
say the
women.
competition.
Yes.
Well, I feel like it's pressed in a sense of like uh I feel okay. I used to say a lot that women were taught growing up, like get a good man while you can, or like when you get one, like make sure you keep them. And guys are always taught that there's more fish in the sea. But the older I get, the more I'm like, I don't know what people are being taught, because it seems as though, I mean, guys are being taught that there are more fish in the sea. Like that's something that's stuck with us. I mean, that's kind of in our nature almost. But
We
it
just
almost,
now that I feel like.
you said what?
I think women are just now being like maybe I think maybe women my age were taught maybe a little more, they were more fish in the sea than all of them before us.
And that's something that I think is giving people a lot of trouble, because while men are taught that there are more fish in the sea, we also know that there's a rare chance that we're going to get the big catch. We know, I mean, a lot of guys know that they're not going to get the 10 with the college degrees who speaks 4 different languages, and she's like a size 3 or 2 or 3 or 4, and we know like that's probably not going to happen. So guys don't have an issue with settling. Women seem to have an issue with settling. Again, one of those words that will take a woman into the stratosphere. Like, oh my God, you said settle. Why would I settle? But men do it all the time. And so I think that's kind of what a lot of problems is, because women don't want to. A lot of women don't say like, look, he doesn't have all of the things that I want, so I'm gonna like keep looking. I know I can find it somewhere.
Men like buses. Miss 1, 15.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, because I mean, again, using profane language, you'll get all the dick you want. Like you can get offered dick every day. Men don't get that.
Giving it away.
But I think now with the whole idea of like sexual liberation and whatever, and being like free to be a sexual being, I feel like a lot of times people confuse sex with access to sex to access to relationships.
Not the same.
No, definitely not the same. But I feel like a lot of times people act on that like Um, people who are like, oh yeah, I've dated guys who made X amount of money, but like they don't fit his criteria. But I'm like, did you date him or did you just have fun time with him? Like
Oh.
you might have went on one date, two dates,
Mm-hmm.
had some smash time, and then like what? You dated him? That's not quite
Mm-hmm.
what happened.
So you define dating as being exclusive? Settling is a huge trigger, but you
Again, you're reading my comments later.
my bad. They popping up.
No, well when I talk about dating, I'm when I say dating, I suppose when I say dating, I mean you're like a couple of like dates, like a few dates in, you probably went on multiple dates, more than just two or three. Um, but definitely when you start talking about relationships and whatnot, like I mean, there's a huge line there, right? Because a guy's gonna mess around with you as long as he can, unless he knows exactly what he wants. He's gonna mess around with you as long as he can. You might not get a relationship. You might go out on all the dates and stuff, but you'll never lock it down. I mean, not never, but you won't lock it down. And some people will call that like, oh yeah, we dated. I talked to, but he was just doing it because he could, because there's a good chance he's making a bunch of money and he could just throw it away frivolously. And B, because he could, because he was letting him, he was a smash hole.
So do you think sis had said, I forgot her name, that about the triggering. Do you think that men
Triggering?
Yeah, do you think that men settle more or that it's
Yes.
not
Yes.
And why do you think that?
Because I can tell you right now what my ideal standards are for a woman, and I will be not glad, but I would definitely be happy. I can find myself being happy dating somebody else. Like I've always had this idea of what the perfect woman looks like in my brain, as far as like her education, what she looks like, how she speaks, and like where I could be with her. But a lot of times we end up dating like people we don't want. Like there are some guys who can absolutely get everything they want. Like it's almost a fetish, right? But for the most part, especially with like, I know me, for example, if you look throughout my dating history, there's no consistency. Physically, mentally, sometimes like there's really no consistency. The only thing I really care for is a big smile. If a girl has a nice smile, that's pretty much where I am.
That's like that's your common physical string, is the nice smile.
That's the common physical. Other than that, there's really no other consistent. Like I remember one time, my brother, his wife was having my sister-in-law. It was her birthday at Papado, and I was the seventh wheel. And I remember they were looking at me like all sad and pitiful, like, yo, we need to hook you up with somebody. And they asked me, it was like, what's your type? And my brother looked at me and my sister-in-law looked at me. They looked at each other and they're like, he doesn't really have one. Like you can't really pinpoint. So guys end up settling a lot more, just because we have understood since we started pursuing women. Like when we went up to that first girl in like second grade and she said no, we understood then that we couldn't have everything we want.
And see, I think that's like a major difference. You had an experience at 7 or 8 years old when you walked up to that first girl that women might not have until they're way past gone. Because I know some women who still won't approach a man.
Oh, absolutely. But that's part of why men are more willing to settle. But because women, like, again, a woman's game is putting yourself in a position for a man to use his game, right? So you're gonna get all the approaches in the world, especially because most of them will come with, I mean, I always say 95% of the dudes that walk up to you just want to smash anyway, right? So it might be more than that. So you're gonna get all these approaches, and so you'll see all these different guys, and for a woman, it's almost like, I have all of these options. Let me go pluck one out of here. Especially if you got like a Rolodex in your phone. Shout out to the old school Rolodex. But guys, I mean, we have to go out and get whatever we have. It's kind of almost like, I hate to use the analogy, but because there'll be people like, you comparing us to fish, but like fishing, right? When you go fishing, you throw your rod out there, you let the bait just sit on the water, and you take what you can get. That's kind of how men operate. A lot of us understand that we can't get the perfect woman. And Danny's in the comments talking about going to like DR in Brazil.
Danny, you better. I heard they be scamming something. Don't watch it. I'm just saying, be careful. I done heard some stories.
Right, but I mean that's why like men end up settling, because like we understand like it, like okay, I can't have like my let me see if I can show it, but like my crush forever and ever and ever is Naomi from the WWE. She is like, if I can design the perfect woman, it would probably look like her. Yeah, it definitely looked like her. However, I know a couple of things. She is out of my league because she makes way more money than I do. And B, she's married. And I'm have to be okay with that. So I know I can't get it. So now I have to go look for something else. Yeah, she's so fine. Anyway, yeah, she's so fine. Anyway, so
do you think that women should approach men more often, and do you think that would aid the overall efficiency of the competition?
I feel like a lot of men say that they want that to happen, but I know that when women do approach men, a lot of time, well, I feel like a lot of times when it happens to men, we feel kind of like uneasy about it. I feel like it'd be nice, but I can't really say that I think it would help anything. I don't know if it'd hurt anything, but I don't know if it would necessarily help. I guess it could.
So what
but part of that also, hold on, let me say this though.
Go ahead.
Part of shooting the shot, what you have to understand is when you shoot your shot, you put yourself in the lead, right? So when you put yourself in the lead, that takes the lead away from the guy. If you shoot your shot at the guy and you say, hey, let me take you out to dinner or whatever, you can take him out to dinner, but essentially that sets the tone and it lets him know how much you like him, which some guys will abuse. But another problem that happens is that women will do that, but then they don't know how to back off and let him lead. They feel like they have to like take it, or they'll like, they'll like feign like backing up and letting him lead, but they'll still be like trying to chime in the background. Because usually flirting usually indicate, or like direct flirting from a woman usually indicates that she's like mad aggressive, and a lot of guys kind of see that being trouble deep down the road. Let me look at a couple comments. Everybody finds themselves settling and understanding people's strengths and weaknesses, and look for inward to their heart and what they can contribute to you and the world around them. Yes. All right. There is no perfect person. No perfect person.
Statement. Everybody settles.
No, he's
that's what I'm saying. You better watch.
Talking about going to the DR. Men don't like. She's talking about flirting, being approached. Men don't like it. Period.
It's been a hit or miss. As a woman who will walk up on a man, and I have slid in some DMs too, but it like he said, I feel like it's the same thing. I think women have to realize it's the same thing as when a guy walks up to you. Do you know how many guys that you have rejected in your lifetime? Girl, you can't even count. You can't count how many men that you have told no, how many men that you've lied and said I got a boyfriend and shit. You can't count them in. So when you look at like a dude, it's going to be hit or miss. Yes, a guy might not like it.
We separate it.
When a man walks up to you and speaks to you,
we're separated. That we separated, like Derek Jackson told him, we separated.
I still haven't watched all of that, but I watched a little piece of that video you posted.
So let me tell you, there was the first one he did in the office. That's on another YouTube page.
Reaction
There's the
video.
second one, huh?
I said, how the hell he do a reaction video? His own goddamn video. That
Oh,
nigga.
that's wild. So he did the one in his office. He did the one he did the one in his office, the one with his wife. Then he did a live stream with his wife. Then his wife did a video on her own. Then he did the reaction video to his own video. And then his wife came out with something today. Like that's that's 6 videos that this dude's put out or his family has put out in the last like 4 days. And in all of his videos, at the end of it, he's still trying to plug his book. It's crazy.
If my husband cheat on me, we not finna sit on no couch and talk. I can, in hindsight, if I take him back, we can talk about that when I'm old and gray. Yeah, back in the day, we had some run-ins. Catch me
Definitely
in
not.
20, 30 years. We might, maybe.
Ain't
But we definitely not getting on that damn camera on
no
YouTube.
for sure.
The Lord has forgiven you because he has it.
Back to shooting your shots at dude.
I love how women be like, shoot your shot, sis.
Yeah, well, again, put yourself in a position for him to use his skills. That's a woman's
have a preference?
Sorry?
Do you have a preference? Are you okay or comfortable with a woman approaching you? And when a woman does approach, like, how do you think that, like, how they should flip? Because I know you just said that that women sometimes like hold the reins. So number one, do you have a preference, or is it irrelevant to you whether or not a woman approaches you or not? And if she does, how do you think is a good transition plan to flip the reins?
Oh, I definitely have. Let's see. As far as whether I like to be approached, I'm really indifferent about it. I will say that when it does happen, it catches me off guard a little bit. Just because it doesn't happen often. And but I will say I do believe it happens for me more than a lot of guys I know. But at the same time, it's still kind of unusual. And I just prefer, honestly, I prefer to be the one to shoot the shot, like send your choosing signals or whatever. As Brandis said, use your telepathic powers to let me know what's going on. Use your telepathic powers to let me know what's going on. But I prefer to do the shooting, honestly. And but if she does, then I mean, at that point, I just have to tell you up front, like, okay, this is how I feel, this is what I'm gonna do, or this how how I want to go about this situation. And I guess I then as a man would have to let her know, like, okay, you don't have to lead this dance. Thank you for interjecting yourself, but you don't have to lead this.
So, another question, follow-up question.
Wait, this is it. He doesn't like it. He'll be looking for her faults. He'll be thinking like, "What's wrong with you, sis?"
I'm saying I've had both. Like, I've had guys who like reacted to it and it was cool. I'm not in relationships, so clearly it didn't follow through to the end. But none of my relationships have at this moment. So whether I talk, whether he hit me up or whether I hit him up, like, I've literally done both. Like, and I'm the kind of person to where it's just like, if we might not be in a space to where I might could get like, give you an eye or something like that. And if I want to walk up and speak to you, and I think you're attractive, I'm gonna come up and say, hey, like, because I don't want to be thinking about, hey, that nigga was fine as hell. I should have said something to him. Like, either he gonna bite it, like I said, after like the women, because we are not in the position to be rejected as often because we don't do the pursuing. I think we're very, very, very scared of it. And I just say you just gotta mind yourself. How many men have you rejected? Because I know I rejected a lot.
It's been a lot.
You can't tell me no. I'm just
that's the primary complaint I hear from women when it comes to approaching. They're like, I don't want to be rejected, and I'm like, well, a lot of times you want to act like men. You want to have sex like men. You want to do all these things like men. You need to learn how to take rejection like men too. But it's one of those things. It's kind of like
why'd you put I'm a JD on the screen?
Oh, that was for you. When you said your relationships ain't been working, I'm a, like when Kevin Samuels, I'm a PhD. Uh,
Hey,
I'm a JD.
hey, it's
Um,
not. Hey, ain't none. Hey, we're all. Hey, anybody on the stream that's single, nothing that you've done thus far has.
hey, you right. You
Hey,
absolutely right.
we all here trying to figure it out.
Hey, but I can guarantee you. Well, I won't say that. That's a conversation for another day about how women usually lead the breakup or in the relationships.
I do hear that you say that women initiate most of the divorces. I did not know that until I saw you
Eighty
put that
percent of
up.
80% of
80%.
marriages are 80% of marriages. I'm sorry, 80% of divorces are initiated by women. Yeah.
No, I can believe that. That's
Uh,
a fact. Men are more critical.
read my comments here. Men are
Yeah,
more critical when
I really read out loud a lot, so
it,
it's not a, it's a habit.
men are more critical when it comes to being approached. Yeah, yeah. Actually, I mean, because as a man, and I hate. I mean, it's gonna sound strange, but as a man, if you're like some strange girl and you just walk up to us, as most women probably feel too, um, you're a threat. Like when you, because that's a very aggressive behavior, and so then we have to be like, okay, what are you getting at here? Now, some guys have enough confidence to overcome that. Um, like me, I've been approached, and I'm just like, all right, well, we'll see. Other guys not so much. You're like, what's going on with her? Why is she doing this? Is she plotting something against me? Is she plotting on taking something from me? Why is she putting herself in a position like because most women don't put themselves in that position. That's really all it is.
So what is the line between can competition happen without some level of aggression?
I'm gonna say, well, I mean, when you say some level, that really makes me think of the spectrum of
Or
um
aggression, just not even some level, like aggression. Um, it's actually since she asked about my hair,
yeah.
it,
I mean, I
I
put
didn't
it
have
up.
pipe cleaners on them, but it's actually just my hair, so they're really lock knots. So they can do your lock knots on if your hair. My hair is probably like halfway down my back, so that's why it's at this length. It's really tight though. But if you want to do it, they can do your lock knots with pipe cleaners if your hair isn't as long as mine. But if it is, then you could just do it with your hair.
Excellent note. Learning stuff about Black women's hair. That's what this channel is for. We just wanna get closer together, however we can. Uh, let us see.
So aggression, well, you said some level kind of creates a spectrum. So it
Yeah,
can competition in dating happen absent aggression from both parties?
I
And for
think.
women,
Well, here's the
what does that
thing.
look like?
Okay, so there's this idea that you just be your best self.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing really aggressive about. I don't think aggressive about that. Aggressive usually means that it's like an offensive action. Like you, assertive is defending yourself. Aggressive is like going after it. So I would say I want to say no because I still feel like if you do anything, especially if you're just competing with yourself when it comes to some guy, you're competing with other people too. And you still got to put your foot out there to win the challenge. Let's see. Aggression is the first stage of competition.
And so if that is so, how do I as a woman, or how do we as women navigate that when we know that being an aggressive woman or coming off aggressive can mean a lot of things?
Well, you got to think about aggression in the terms of being a woman and not aggression in terms of being a man.
I know.
Well, here it's
Yeah.
kind of like like when the idea of an alpha female, like many women who describe themselves as alpha females are more or less like semi alpha men. Alpha female, and I've met a couple of alpha females in college. And these women were pretty much the same way. They kept themselves up, they exercised, they were very feminine, very dainty. They knew where to go to. They were hanging out in the BA or hanging out, with the people who are like the SGA. They were hanging out with people who were like movers and shakers in the school. They get older, go around the military, get a rich man. They did all these things, but they did it. They were aggressive, but in a feminine way. They didn't approach these men. They put themselves in a position to get recognized by one. You know what I mean? So the problem with being aggressive as a woman is that a lot of women think being aggressive is you going directly to me and saying, "Hey, here I am." Where really being an aggressive is, for example, if I had a work crush, right? Or if you had a crush at work, you wouldn't just go up to that dude and, I mean, you might, but most women wouldn't go up to that dude and just be like, "Yo, I like you. Like, can we go out to eat?" They would probably try to like wear the nicest outfit they have, nice earrings, makeup, change.
Latter is more acceptable.
Sorry?
The latter, like the be cute, the dress up to in your face a little bit, or you walk by so you make sure you catch your attention, versus just saying, "Hey, how are you today? Like, would you like to go out?"
Well, I mean, I'm just speaking in terms of what being an aggressive woman looks like. Not necessarily like what's more acceptable and what's not. Everybody, I mean, I hate to say it because people when people accuse me of generalizing, they usually revert to something like this, but different strokes for different folks, right? Some people like that, some people don't. But as far as being an aggressive woman, in most cases, being an aggressive woman is just, again, putting yourself in a position for a guy to use his skills on you. Proximity rule, right? If somebody really likes you by how often they put themselves in your presence. So yeah, there's a difference between being like
I'm gonna quote you.
An aggressive, yeah, being aggressive for a woman can look very different. It doesn't have to look like what a man does. Part of our problem in our society is that we tend, like, I got an episode coming up later about like the war on femininity, the idea that like being feminine is now wrong for some reason. But that's another show. Let's see. I'll probably do this for another 20, 30 minutes. Let me see this. Danny, is the black woman considered the greatest tool for or against the black man? Both. Because the white man will definitely use black women against us. But if we come together, we can be the greatest of people, honestly.
Yeah.
But
we get closer to y'all than probably anybody does.
Yeah, right.
Definitely.
I think alpha females come in levels because some have no choice to be alphas based on their circumstances, and those are those same are willing to give up that alpha role to submit to who they find is worthy of it. Yeah, I mean, some people are put in those circumstances, sure, but here's the thing. That's like a muscle you exercise. You just can't turn femininity on and off. It's a muscle you have to exercise. You can't just say I'm gonna be an alpha woman, and then one day you meet a guy like, okay, now I'm gonna be weak for you. Like, there's just some things you have to adjust if you're an alpha woman. It's almost like if you've been single for a really long time and then you jump into a relationship, there are things that you have to do in order to there are things you have to do in order to make your relationship work. Like, you have to change within yourself. So being an alpha female is cool, but you still got to work through it at the end of it. Thank you, Crystal, for acknowledging my fantastic answer. I'm pretty smart sometimes.
I got to quote you on that one piece. What did you say? People, you can tell somehow how much somebody likes you by how much they put
proximity.
You in.
It's the proximity rule. Definitely. I know definitely that's how it happens. That's one of the things that pickup artists tell men is, when a woman likes you when she puts herself around you. Like, if she goes out of her way to like see you or something. Like, for instance, if I'm at work and my door is open and a teacher who's on like the second floor, who I've never seen on my floor before, just walks by my room and goes, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" I'm like, okay, like, and I know like we've been kind of like exchanging eyes a little bit. Then I'm like, okay, she's putting herself in a position to talk to me. What happens? Richard said, but alpha doesn't necessarily mean masculine. It's like head of the household. Head of the household is head of the household. Alpha just means that you are like you're like type A personality. You just go for it. It doesn't necessarily mean. I mean, head of the household is head of the household. You can still be a beta and still be a head of the household.
I think I've ever.
I know some people don't like the whole beta alpha conversation, but it is what it is. There are people who go out and get it, and there are people who sit back and let it happen to them. It is what it is. Right. It's been 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I'm gonna end this broadcast. I'm kind of upset the Disney thing only lasted about an hour, but it is what it is. We got a good conversation. I think you went too little. Head of the household is head of the household, and I don't mean like head of. There's a difference between alpha and head of the household. Alpha is like a personality type. Head of the household is head of the household. Being a leader in your home is a leader in your home. Shout out to the gamma males. There's sigma males too. I've learned there are a lot of different Greek letters they use for that thing. All right. Well, it is 2:10. Thank you, Amanda, for jumping on here with me. We got to do this again sometime.
For answering questions. I appreciate 2 cents.
All right, no problem. Got comments still flowing in. I love when people are like, they send me stuff, and I'm just like, what? Talk about what? What are you talking about? I don't know. I'm on here talking. There's a delay. I don't know who's saying what or responding to what. But yeah, thank you, Amanda, for joining me, having this conversation at the back end again. We gotta do it sometime since you were the inspiration for the competition conversation. You and a bunch of other statuses and things I've seen where women were like, I shouldn't have to compete. Like,
they just feel like that fundamental comes from the place of if a man wants you, there's nothing that you can do or not to do to keep him if you want to stay.
Yeah. The types of people like alpha, beta, delta. I'll go through that later. That requires a bunch of research.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up too because I didn't realize that the personality went down the Greek nomenclature like that.
Yeah, they kind of do. All right, but thanks, Amanda. I'll TTYL.
All right, deuces.
See. Isn't this how they do in the anime show? Yeah. So, competition is competition, people. I know that it is a I know it is, I mean, not nice to hear. People don't think that they're gonna risk the chance of losing, but you're gonna lose at something. You're gonna lose at something. You know what I mean? So yeah, to go back through it, Disney movies from a male's perspective is just so interesting to watch. Just to see, like, I like to look through movies and say, like, oh, this is real, this ain't real. Very interesting stuff. I'll have to do it again someday. Pick some different movies. If you want to suggest some movies, by all means, I'm willing to take some suggestions. I haven't seen all the Disney movies, so don't shoot me for that. But I'm definitely willing to look into some and see what happens. I think I might do Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid will probably be next when I do decide to do it again. Next week's topic, I'm still kind of swimming around on it. Might do another Who Hurt You and might talk about some other things. Depends on how I feel. I might start doing some pre-recorded content. Work on my video editing skills and whatnot. Wow, this thing needs to be moved over. Work on my video editing video editing skills. As nice background you got here. Thank you to those who donated to me. I appreciate it. Your donations will go to a good cause for sure. I always like, making this stuff better. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, but at the same time, sometimes you got to work with what you got and do the best you can. What else? Disney movies are funny. Derek Jackson subscriber count We've been on for 2.5 hours almost, so let's see where Derek Jackson's subscriber count is on the YouTube. And I don't care if you want to call me a hater or whatever. I do not like Derek Jackson. I've been saying that for a very long time, and people are finally seeing. I think we started out today. He was at what 739 subscribers. This man, Derek Jackson, is right now sitting at 736,000 subscribers. We'll be monitoring this for the next couple of weeks. He won't. Well, he started out at like 1.5 million. Now he's lost pretty much half of his fan base. Whoo, boy. Derek Jackson's fun to talk about sometimes. I don't know if I want to do. I guess I could do Brave too. I'll do that one day. So, with all that being said, I do appreciate you for tuning in. Appreciate Amanda for chiming in on the conversation. You'll probably see her a lot more. I think she and I are going to work on a project together. We're going to see some more recorded content from me. I might go live more than once a week now. Just, I got a lot on my mind. I got a lot to say. So, with all that being said, it's great talking to y'all. Thank you for watching, and peace.